Both of those, and in fact, Zara Man was in my top 10 last year. Zara Serrano could easily be in my top 10 this year. I had to make a painful choice, but really fantastic.
Hello and welcome back to another wonderful episode of the Retail Podcast. Now, when you think about stores and store formats, the one consistent thing that's happening, even through a crisis, is that store formats are changing and stores are changing around the world. And I thought, what an ideal, opportune moment. And we'll meet Matthew in a minute, who's just released his 10 unmissable global stores. Maybe, getting into the store format, maybe they're not in terms of, but there's different variety of store formats around the world. And I thought, who better to have this conversation with than an expert in store design and all things store. Matthew, hello and welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Alex, thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I remember meeting you in New York, actually where I got this jumper, marine layer, thinking there's someone I need to get on the podcast sooner rather than later. It's only taken 3 months, but hey, we're here now and we're going to go. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Echo Chamber? Tell us a little bit about yourself and we'll take it from there.
Great. Yeah, well, I run this tiny little retail trend agency called Echo Chamber. And my elevator pitch is that I travel around the world taking pictures of shops and then I talk about them. That's my kind of core expertise. I've been doing it for 26 odd years, maybe nearly 27 years. So I can say confidently that I've seen an awful lot of shops in 27 years. And retail and physical retail is just getting better and better year on year. So it's a pleasure to do the job that I do.
Thank you. And in terms of where we are right now, where are we right now when it comes to store formats? And I know obviously it depends on the geography and lots of different elements, but where do you think we are in the evolution of stores right now?
I think what I often see are trends that kind of evolve and they get bigger and then some kind of edge off a little bit. But we're seeing a continual evolution of stores at the top end. And that's not necessarily a luxury trend. It's across value as well, of stores just becoming more interesting, more immersive, more inspiring, more wow. And we all know the reason why. It's essentially a competition amongst challenger brands as well, but also against online. And I keep thinking every single year that there's nothing more that retailers can do to be even more immersive and exciting. And every year I'm happily proved wrong. So, it's a joy and a little bit of a turmoil to come up with a kind of top 10 list of whittling down innovation down to top 10, when in fact there's many, many more.
Well, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. What's the best way to go through this for us to get a flavor? Do you want to, should I just click through and you talk about them?
Yeah, why not? Let's do that. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, my summary again, as I just said, is, every year I keep thinking that retail just can't get any better. And every year it's proved wrong. I think the big trends that I'm seeing are really that Asia is absolutely flying in terms of retail innovation. Across the Chinese market, just brands are really doing super interesting stuff. Seoul just remains the most unbelievably creative city, but equally Bangkok is really, really competitive as well. I mean, in terms of European cities, I have to say the standout city for me in the past year has been Madrid. It's a kind of quiet, lovely city, a capital city, of course, but actually, Barcelona always used to get a huge amount of the praise, but actually I think Madrid has really accelerated.
Are you saying that because we're based here? Because Alexandra, who's off camera, she's there listening. She's going, yes.
Yeah, it's such a charming city, and what's really interesting, of course, is it's where Inditex is really focusing a lot of its investment. It's almost like a flagship city for Inditex, where they're really, really pumping up new formats. They did the first Zara Man concept with the Zara Cafe in Madrid last year. They've done the flagship Zara Serrano. Both of those, and in fact, Zara Man was in my top 10 10 last year. Zara Serrano could easily be in my top 10 this year. I had to make a painful choice, but really fantastic. Independent retailers, big brands, great for food. And I kind of make the real point, and particularly in terms of my top 10, is
Yeah.
that my point is that retail trends are global and they cross all sectors. And so one of the key things that I do when I choose my top 10 is to try and have a global spread, and also to do a spread between beauty and fashion and home, because we are seeing all of these trends equally in every single sector. It doesn't really matter what you're selling and at what price point, you still have to do this amazing surprise and delight to be at the top of the pile in retail.
I can't tell you how I mean, this is how sad or cool I am. I feel like I just need some popcorn. I'm going to sit back and let you take me, because I absolutely love some of the stores that you've got in here. I haven't been able to go to all of them, but I mean, this MECCA flagship store in Melbourne, we're starting in at number 10.
Yes.
It's incredible, right?
It is absolutely beautiful. And it really ticks all the boxes on, when people say, how do you create a great retail experience? What does a great retail experience look like? What does a flagship look like? One of the key principles to create something unique is to be in a unique building to start with. And so to borrow some of the prestige of the heritage architecture. And that's what MECCA's done really well. They've taken the old Sports Girl flagship, this old wonderful architectural Coleman House building with beautiful architectural detailing, and then inhabited it and brought it to life with just a series of beauty experiences. Really trying to think, how do we create the ultimate beauty flagship with obviously all of the hero brands across all of the different categories, but then a cafe, then a hair salon, then, a news and event space, then a kind of eventing space where they are running classes and education. Beautiful design, fantastic visual merchandising. It's a deliberate challenge to brands like Sephora, which are going to come into the Australian market. This is, an independent business that now has 100 stores, super, super slick retailer, but really pushing the boundaries because they know that the competitive landscape is getting harder and harder every year, and you just got to push the boundaries. And it's just a fantastic example of what a great flagship looks like. It's number 10 arbitrarily. It's not a judgment on the fact that other stores are better.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a lovely way to bring it in. It's the other side of the globe from me. I did want to bring food in. I think it's really important. The Irish food landscape is particularly competitive. I think Dublin is one of those hidden gem, or in fact, the whole of the Republic of Ireland is a hidden gem for food innovation, partly because there's a small population size, but also because of the huge challenges from Aldi and Lidl, and from Dunn's, Musgrave working really hard there as well, and wonderful independents. And Donnybrook Fair is, of course, a much-loved premium food retailer now owned by Musgrave, refurbishing and restoring the original Morehampton Road flagship here, and a fantastic example of retail innovation, combining design, merchandising, and kind of more importantly, like really good fresh food solutions. Back to basics with a proper butcher and a fishmonger, real focus on expert storytelling, celebrating Irish suppliers, celebrating the staff that actually work there. I love, particularly my favorite picture has to be the little lemon fish that they've done. The butcher fishmonger did that himself. That lovely attention to detail. When we talk about, retail is detail, that's the kind of thing. A tiny little thing that just really elevates the overall principle, but just a fantastic food store, world class, and open less than a year.
Fantastic.
This, I kind of wanted to only do, one city per store, but actually I've done 2 for New York and 2 for Madrid, and I could have done more as well. I chose this as an example of a text format rather than the Zara one, because I think it's probably more important, because one of the things that people will always say is, oh, this is all premium retail and you're only showing fancy luxury stuff. I deliberately choose this because this is the value brand from Zara Inditex. This is Lefties, and it's their new flagship, which is the first time they've incorporated home as well. This is Primark price points, but with premium looking design and fantastic experience. It's all about about, making Gen Z, Gen Alpha excited. So, it's got fantastic design and product presentation, great pricing, but it's also got a florist. It's got a Bonbon Boss cafe. It's got a slide that you can go down
Love it.
down between floors. And then a lot of really interesting tech innovation as well. So things like automated hanger replenishment, RFID smart fitting rooms, things that add operational efficiency that Zara have really been pushing. Inditex have been pushing with self-payments, RFID, taking the friction out of retail and adding a little bit of retail theatre at the same time. So a really important store, this, and particularly so because they're now announcing a major expansion of Lefties across Europe. So
Yeah.
this is the new challenger. This is what the bottom of the market looks like for customers.
It's incredible.
This is the trend that I call the push for posh, which
Yeah.
is really massively important. It's where value brands invest in retail to create premium looking shopping experiences. And it basically forces the mid-market either to up their game or frankly to die. And it was things like this that really killed the mid-market department store. COVID finished them off, but they were really dead man walking for a long time. You just cannot have a mid-market proposition at higher prices than this if you're going to offer a worse shopping experience. And so this is probably the most significant in terms of the case studies from a wider retail perspective.
Yeah, I'd be super fascinated to see if this is the format that comes to the UK, because I've got 7 stores, I think, planned for the UK, and whether or not they do go, because it is a beautiful store. I remember going to their pop-up store that they had in Madrid, and that was a lovely experience. But then I was like, is this just for the home market? Is this like the store that's going to be exported around the world, as you said? Super interesting.
Yeah, it really is. This is just, I think you asked me earlier, what's my
Yeah,
favorite
off
store? And I
camera,
think,
yes.
look, they're all wonderful stores, but this one particularly resonated with me because it's part of the thing that I'm seeing in retail. That's not just what the stores look like, but what's the passion and the feeling behind the business,
Yeah.
and often customers don't necessarily know that. But here it's really apparent. And I love the fact that Hoff had taken their inspiration from one of my other stores in the top 10 and
Yeah.
really understood the idea of creating a proper experience. And so it's just a wonderful example of a business for a start. I mean, it's not even 10 years old, founded in Elche in Spain, started as a digital only brand and now has more than 50 stores worldwide. Just opened a lovely store in Covent Garden, one in Amsterdam, but this is their flagship in Madrid. And they had a really well-trading smaller store in Madrid before. And the founder, Fran Marchena, took the plunge to invest in really a very big store here, 700 square meters.
Yeah.
I think it was the old Polestar flagship, and really creating a physical space that represented what they thought the brand was, which is about art and culture and community and immersive experiences. And so the store is just fabulous. It's a beautifully designed store. It's got art installations that are permanently part of the fabric of the space. It's got personalization, a little charm bar that combines with a champagne bar. It's got this wonderful gallery atrium space where people sit. And what I particularly like is the attic area, which is a series of event and co-working rooms, which are there for events that they're running regularly. But the Hoff staff in the management team also work out of the store. And it's a really nice way of, often there's a disconnect between management and the shop floor.
Yeah.
And here it's much more that the management team are intimately connected with what's happening on the shop floor. It really feels like it's a much more connected business. They have this coffee area at the front, which is constantly running different collabs with interesting brands. The one that's currently running at the moment is this little cheesecake, cool hipster cheesecake store called Luna and Wakanda in Justicia. So they're taking like the cool independent retailers from the city and then bringing them into store and sharing that kind of passion, that kind of expertise to elevate the entire experience. It's just every element of it is fabulous.
Yeah, I got to be honest, from the pictures, I'm going to go probably tomorrow or the day after, I'll be there. It's got that 1940s sort of like feel to it, but then it's got this sort of very unique and they're not shelves, these like concrete blocks here with
Yes.
the trainers there. Really cool. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
I want to talk about every single one, and I keep looking at the time going, oh no, we can't talk about, but carry on. No, we're going to do this. Go, let's go.
I mean, I had to put Printemps in. We were in New York. I mean,
Yeah.
as I said, I mean, we met at the Marine Layer Personalization Patch Bar. I could have put that into a top 10 because it was such a lovely idea of putting like a basement speakeasy style space where you can personalize the clothes. I thought that
Yep.
was fabulous. So where we met, only in January was great. There's far more than 10 amazing world-class stores in New York. But really, I thought the big news for this year was Printemps taking the bold step of moving into New York. I mean, opening a concept department store at a tricky time for department stores, and also down in the Wall Street district, which is,
Yep.
not a traditional area for retailing. It's just such an unbelievably fabulous space. It's design maximalism at the ultimate level. It's again borrowing power from the heritage building. So the red salon that you can see there, it's actually a protected space in the sense that the mosaic walls were already done by an artist, that they've inhabited a space that they've taken over and inherited, and then built the fixtures around it to create this just fabulous playground experience. It's reinventing the department store. Instead of just being a big box with a bunch of concessions, it's a series of intimate different rooms, each with their own personality and each with a different hospitality element. So every single floor has something hospitality.
Do you think this works as a store though? Do you think people do they buy here or do they just visit here?
That's the first and only question everyone asks. It's very quiet. It really is quiet. How the numbers are trading, I don't know. I suspect it probably is not doing the volume that it needs to, but equally it might be the people that are buying are spending enough to keep it going.
Because it's luxury, right?
I mean, I know it's the obvious question people ask is, what's the point of spending money if it's not making money and it's not returning? I don't genuinely
But it's
know.
had loads of column inches, so people talk about. I didn't actually go because I was like, it's like Showfields gave me such a bad time. Obviously, Showfields is gone now, and it's a Gymshark are there. But I was like, sorry, go on.
No, I agree, but I didn't like Showfields as much, to be honest. I had a lovely experience at Printemps, and although I didn't buy any actual product, I did buy food and drink. So I did take part in the hospitality offer, and particularly the wonderful red bar down there on the bottom left corner. It's a fantastic space. It's a really intimate shopping experience.